Yeah, 100%. So now let's just get into our picks for next week in college football, because this week's actually a bit weaker than past weeks have been, but there still are some quality games in here. Starting off with the first one, this one should be an easy one. I've already made this pick in my SEC picks prediction video, but we got the Florida Gators visiting the Vanderbilt Commodores. Florida, amazing game last week. Vanderbilt actually only lost to Kentucky by 3 last week, so they're getting better slowly, but I don't see any chance that Florida drops this game. They're just too talented on offense. They're going to go in there and run all over Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt's offense, it is getting better, but it's not great yet. This should be a game for Florida's defense to really develop and just go out there and have a solid game. So, Bernie, I'm taking Florida. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, Florida's offense is just way too good. And I've said it in the past videos as well. I'm not a fan of the Gators defense. They allowed some points last week as well. But, I mean, when you're putting up 60-plus points and your offense is as electric as they've been this year, I mean, Florida's a really tough team to beat, so I'll take Florida.
Next up, Clemson versus Florida State. This is Clemson's first game since the devastating loss for them to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Clemson's coming back against a Florida State team who has had their up and downs this season. Obviously, they beat North Carolina earlier in the season. They lose to North Carolina State last week. Florida State, especially that this game is in Florida, it's in Tallahassee, anything could happen. I know Florida State's have their runs this year, but overall, I think Clemson is just going to out-talent them. I'm pretty sure Trevor Lawrence should be coming back as the quarterback. Don't mark me on that, because I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% guaranteed, though.
Yeah, I think
he's back. Clemson is just the better team here. There's no other way to put it, so give me Clemson in this one.
Yeah, I think Florida State's lost 5 of their last 6. They beat North Carolina, but their only other win is against Jacksonville State. I don't think this game's close, especially if Trevor Lawrence is back this week, which it looks like he is. So I think Clemson wins in a blowout.
Next up, this is going to be the Fox Big Noon kickoff game. We got Indiana versus Ohio State. Indiana is ranked number 9 now, and Ohio State's number 3. So this is a top 10 matchup. Surprisingly, this game isn't in... This isn't the College Game Day game. We'll be getting to that later, but this is still a very good game nonetheless. If Indiana wants a shot at beating Ohio State for the next bunch of seasons, I see that this is their year that they got to execute or whatever, but Ohio State, too talented. Justin Fields is too talented as a quarterback. I really like where Ohio State's at this year, especially that this game is at home. Even though there's no fans, I say it over and over and over again. The preparation process is a lot easier when you're at home rather than traveling to an away team stadium. So give me Ohio State in this one.
Personally, I don't think there's a team in the Big Ten that can beat Ohio State. I just think they're too talented. I'm really curious about this game, but if you look at the injury report, Ty Freifogel is listed as questionable, and he's their best wide receiver, him and Watt Fillier as well. But Freifogel had the 200 receiving yards, I think, or something like that last week. Especially if he's out, Indiana has no chance in this game. But regardless, I'd take Ohio State.
The Buckeyes, it is for both of us. Next up, another sticking with the Big Ten, we got Wisconsin versus Northwestern. I'm pretty sure that this is both of these teams are ranked.
And both are undefeated as well.
Both are undefeated. So this is going to be a very good game and a very important game for deciding the Big Ten West. Wisconsin opens up as 7.5 favorites. This game is in just outside of Chicago, in Illinois. So Northwestern is the home team here. Wisconsin, who'd Wisconsin play last week? Oh, yeah, they beat Michigan last week. Northwestern had a close game, I'm pretty sure, against, I think it was Purdue. Yeah, they only won by 7 last week. So this game could get interesting, but I really feel like Wisconsin is going to be the better team in this game and come out with the win.
I think Northwestern surprised some people. I mean, they're 4-0, but 3 out of their 4 games were one possession, if you count Nebraska with the 8 points as a one-possession game. So, yeah, I think Northwestern surprised some people, but they're not close to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they had their only second game last week. I think they've had some time to get some rust out. So I take Wisconsin here pretty heavily, too.
Tennessee, Auburn is our next game. Tennessee's coming off of a loss to Arkansas in their last game. They did not play last week. Auburn didn't play last week either due to COVID reasons. And their last win was a very, very good win at home versus an LSU team who was struggling. They won that game, I'm pretty sure, 48-11 or something like that. Auburn is turning in the right direction right now, while Tennessee is not. I really like what Auburn showed from an offensive perspective last game. Bo Nix had a great game. He was able to get the ball into Williams and Schwartz's hand constantly. The rushing game was good, and even the defensive game for Auburn was amazing, only limiting LSU to 11 points last game. So I think that Auburn wins this game easily, especially that this game is at home. Auburn, Tennessee, it's always going to be an interesting matchup. Just two historic programs of the SEC, but I really like where Auburn's at, so I'm going to take Auburn in this one.
For me, it's not so much about what Auburn can do. It's about what Tennessee can't do. And, I mean, they had the postponed game last week, but in their last game against Arkansas, their QB problems just continued. And they played three different quarterbacks because Garantano has just not been good at all this season. And I'm not exactly sure who they're going to be going with this week, but they have all sorts of problems, especially on that offense. So, again, I think it's more of what Tennessee cannot do. So I think Auburn takes this one as well.
Next up, we have the rivalry in Oklahoma. We have Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. This is where College Game Day is going to be on Saturday morning. This game is very interesting for me. Oh, obviously, Oklahoma State was probably one of the most hyped teams going in to this season in the Big 12. Now, granted, Oklahoma's ranked like third overall. They were the number 3 team in the nation or something like that before losing their first game to Kansas State, or their second game. They played their first game against Missouri State. Oklahoma, obviously way less than expected this year. They're still the 19th team in the country. Oklahoma State, I'm pretty sure, is the 14th team in the country. Oklahoma State's last game, they only beat Kansas State by 2 points. That's a Kansas State team that did beat Oklahoma, but Oklahoma was able to take care of business versus Kansas last game, 62-9. Kansas isn't a good team, but Oklahoma's just able to run up the scoreboard and keep the scoring to a minimal versus Kansas. I picked Texas versus Oklahoma State, and that ended up happening. And I just feel like this game is just going to be an Oklahoma win. I just have such a good feeling about that. Even though Oklahoma State had all the hype going into this game this year, this was the year that they're going to beat Oklahoma. Give me the Sooners in this one. I just feel good about it. I just feel good about where Oklahoma is right now compared to where Oklahoma State is.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma struggles at the beginning of the season. It came from Spencer Rattler and being inconsistent. Obviously, he didn't have much experience at the college level. But you know what? Oklahoma settled down. They've won 4 games in a row, and they're coming into this game with a lot of momentum. Spencer Rattler's figured it out. He's running this offense a lot better now. He's had 4 touchdown passes in his past 2 games. And again, since that early part where Oklahoma got their second loss in the last 4 games, Oklahoma has been absolutely sensational. I'd take Oklahoma here as well with the upset.
Our next game, we got a game out of the group of 5, and we got Cincinnati versus UCF. UCF is, in the last couple of years, has been the very dominant team in the group of 5. Obviously, they were the team that was trying to make a case for the college football playoff a couple of years ago. But this year, we got a new team out of the American, and that is the Cincinnati Bearcats. They are trying to make their case right now to make that spot in the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure that they are the 6th best team in the country right now. So this will be a big game for proving where Cincinnati is at as a program right now. This will be huge for Cincinnati to win. The game is in Central Florida. The game's coming to you from Orlando. I like where Desmond Ritter's at as a quarterback. I like where this whole Cincinnati team is at right now. They're the 6th best team in the country for a reason. Give me the Bearcats in this one.
I think this is a really, really interesting game because I think it's really similar to the game that we were talking about before, which is the Miami-Virginia Tech game, because this looks like a game that Cincinnati should take pretty heavily. But UCF's been inconsistent. UCF is definitely a team who can stay close with Cincinnati this week. Cincinnati is only 4-point favorites as of now. They opened as 3.5-point favorites. One thing sort of about betting is that usually Vegas has a pretty good idea about these upset picks, and they want you to go with Cincinnati in this game. So I would lean towards saying that this is going to be a close game, and I would lean toward UCF. So I'll take UCF with the upset here.
Next game, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because it is your team. We got Michigan versus Rutgers. This game is in Rutgers. Michigan obviously coming off of the last 3 games, all with losses. Can Michigan turn it around in this one, Bernie?
You know what? This is really tough to pick. Michigan actually, I think, opened up as favorites in this game. I'm just going to pull up the lines here in a second. But I'm assuming that people are going to be betting with Rutgers this week. Michigan needs to figure out both sides of the football. But if they could do it against anybody, it would be against Rutgers. Probably one of the only teams, maybe other than Penn State, that is struggling more than them. It's really, really tough. I think Jim Harbaugh needs to win this game if he wants to keep his job. I think they'll be playing with a bit more fire. We don't know who the quarterback is yet, if it's going to be Milton or McNamara. I mean, it sounds biased to still pick Michigan here, but I'd probably take Michigan to win this one.
I think if Michigan does drop this game to Rutgers, Harbaugh's gone. Because if you drop 4 games in a row in the Big Ten, and 2 of those games are to Rutgers and Michigan State for Michigan, and especially in a year where Michigan State isn't any powerhouse team at all, that's just saying a lot about where your program's at, and that is going in the direction where you do not want it to be. I do agree with you that Michigan's going to come out with more firepower in this game, and I feel like it will just rip everyone if Michigan does lose this game. I feel like the players are going to be fighting for their lives in this game, so I do feel like Michigan's going to come out with the win here. Lastly, we're going with my South Carolina Gamecocks taking it on Mizzou. This game is coming at you at 7:30 p.m. on SEC Alternate. Missouri opens up as 4-point favorites in this one. South Carolina is coming in with a new intern head coach. We got Mike Bobo, our offensive coordinator, is our head coach for the rest of the season. I just got word, like literally 5 minutes before starting this podcast, that our star cornerback, J.C. Horn, obviously the one who won the Walter Camp Defensive Player of the Week, the week that we played Auburn, had an amazing game. He is gone for the rest of the season in an already struggling secondary. Our secondary got absolutely torched versus Ole Miss. I'm pretty sure Matt Corral threw 500-plus yards in that game. Missouri is a team that we definitely should be able to beat, especially that this game is in Willie B. One thing especially that needs to happen for South Carolina to win this game, rely on the rushing game. We saw it last week. Kevin Harris rushes for 5 touchdowns. That's a new school record, and had like 250-plus yards rushing. He is an absolute beast. Feed him the whole game. If our passing game isn't working, we just got to stick it to the ground game, open up those lanes in the passing game. Your passing game will not be good until you have a good running game, and I think that is going to be key for South Carolina to be able to win this game. Rely on Kevin Harris and Deshaun Fenwick in this rushing game. Let the offensive line do their job. Give Kevin Harris the dang football. Let him run all over Mizzou. I don't care. If we can do that, I really like where South Carolina's at in this game, and I am going to take the Gamecocks in this one. As long as our defense can make the stops when we need to, I think that South Carolina's got this game.
I just think you guys have a lot going on right now. I know Missouri opened up as, I think they're at 5.5 on the line right now. I just think you guys have a ton going on with the new coach. Your quarterback situation's a bit messed up. So I like Missouri here.